All right, and on that note, I do want to mention here that we have Pastor Williams joining us here. Mandy is still here, I think, as well. And, of course, you may know Pastor Williams from one of our other previous shows. He's been joining me every few months for the last few years here. He's also been a mainstay over on Alex Jones's InfoWars show. He's been on George Norrie with his Coast to Coast show and many other shows across the nation. Pastor Williams, always a pleasure having you join us here. I do have my pen and paper here.
Proof negative, what a privilege it is to be with you tonight. I don't know how to express it except to say that those who have heard Freedom Isle Radio before have wondered possibly where I've been for a while. I haven't been on a single radio show anywhere for about 3 months. There's a reason why. It's because of something my elite friend told me back in August. So let me give just a brief background so that all those new listeners that are out there tonight, whom I have the privilege of making friends with, will know just where this is coming from. Many years ago, I had been the pastor of a church for a number of years, and I was actually invited to be the chaplain to the elite of the world. That's correct. The people you only hear about, the ones that you never get to meet, probably never have an opportunity to rub shoulders with. And for 3 years' time, I lived with these people when they were building the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline and had an opportunity to get to know many of them personally. They're not the kind of people that I am. They're not the kind of people that probably you are. Mm-hmm. They're the super wealthy who dictate who the next president's going to be, tell Congress what bills to pass, and who control the world and the currencies of the world. These people do exist, and let me assure you, these people are there, the elite, I like to call them. Well, over these 37 years, since I was a chaplain for a 3-year period, I have kept in touch with a few of these people. And from time to time, they'll tell me things, and never one time in 37 years have they ever told me anything that it didn't happen exactly like they said, because it's all planned in advance behind closed doors. Nothing is secret with them. They know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And this happened to me in August. I had not done radio shows for a number of weeks, and in August, my elite friend contacted me, and he told me when the financial collapse will take place. That's right. I know this sounds startling, and this probably will be one of the most informative programs tonight that I've ever had the privilege of doing with Proof Negative, because what you're going to hear this evening could be one of the greatest blessings that you ever had as far as saving your household and your dinner table is concerned. Now, all I can say is that if you have heard me over the years, you know that I tell what these people have told me. I'm just an ordinary, everyday guy. I am not one of the elite. I don't even agree with most of them. Very little that we have in common, except that they probably never met a person like me, some of them, in their life, because I was there as their chaplain anytime they wanted me. Well, in August, I was told something that was so startling to me that I didn't dare tell it. No, that's right. I didn't know what to do with it. And how do you tell the world when every currency in the world is going to collapse? You know, that is not a pleasant subject to talk about. And I said, I've got to prove this. Now, let me first of all explain the way the elite think. What is a financial collapse? Now, the definition that the elite put on a financial collapse and the definition that I, or maybe Proof Negative or someone out in the audience would put on it may be a little different. So let me give you the definition that the elite have for what a financial collapse is. A financial collapse is when the banks close and you lose the money that you have in them. Just that simple. When they close and you lose the money that you have in them, it is going to happen. They already have it planned. and they know approximately when it's going to take place. Let me tell you what a financial collapse is not. When the New York stock market drops 1,000 points, that is not a financial collapse. It might frighten you, and it might scare the financial world something terrific, but that is not a financial collapse. A financial collapse is not when the currency is devalued. If you woke up one morning and happened here in the United States of America, what has happened in Poland or Syria, Cyprus, or Argentina or Venezuela, and they just said, we're going to take out of your bank account 30% of everything you have there, or 40% of whatever it may be, that devaluation is not a financial collapse. A financial collapse is not when gold prices drop $500 at one time, and it could happen overnight. Now, a financial collapse is what happened in 1929. The banks closed, and they didn't reopen. And the people had their money in them. They lost it. Now, Proof Negative suggested a moment ago that you have a pencil and paper handy. I've given you time. In fact, you've had about 5 to 7 minutes here at the beginning of the program, and I hope you have that pencil handy because I would like to give you the definition of when the financial collapse will take place. You ready? Here it is. You can depend on it. It will happen. Here it is. The collapse will take place after the Affordable Health Care Plan is fully implemented. Now, do you know why I was frightened when I heard that? Do you have the slightest idea? The implications, the implications of what this is saying? Now, if my elite friend had just come out and said the financial collapse is going to take place on a certain date, that would have concerned me. But whenever he said it's going to take place after the Affordable Health Care bill is fully implemented, oh my goodness, that said a thousand thoughts. Let me try to explain why.
Okay.
Over 4 years ago, in fact it was about 4.5 years ago now, I was on the phone one day, and I'll name his name because he died about 1.5 years ago. His name was Mr. Fromm. He was a senior executive with Atlantic Richfield. I knew him personally, spent many, many hours with him. And he said to me one day on the phone in a conversation we were having, he named a number of things, and finally came around and said something about a health care bill. Now, it had never been presented before Congress. The president didn't know what it was. They talked about it. They talked about introducing it. Congress didn't know what it was. And he said to me, Chaplain, there is going to be a health care bill presented to Congress. And he said it's going to be accepted. I said, a health care bill. He said, yes, that's right. And I said, well, tell me something about it. He said, are you ready? He said, Chaplain, this is not a health care bill. He said, it's called a health care bill, but he said, it is not a health care bill. And I said, well, what is it? He went on to explain how that this is the final straw that broke the camel's back of total control of all the people of the United States of America. Now, you're just beginning to see this. I said it on your program, Proof Negative, back a number of years ago. I think I told what Mr. Fromm had told me, and at the time I didn't realize the significance of it either. But within the past 3 to 4 months, some of you have come to the shocking realization of the fact that this affordable health care bill is not a health care bill in any shape, form, or fashion. Now, I want you to do something for me. Please, you have those pencils and paper handy. Please write this down. Will you please, after the program tonight, please don't do it right now. You've got to hear what this elite friend told me because it is going to drastically affect your family. Will you please, after the program tonight, go on the Internet to lindseywilliams.net. That's right, Lindsey Williams.net, not .com, but Please, you must read. It's free of charge. It will cost you a penny. That website, you can go right into it. And there you're going to find a brief that is written by a retired attorney. That's right. Very prominent attorney. He just retired recently. And he read all 3,200 pages of the Affordable Health Care Bill. And he wrote a brief. It's not a book. It's a brief. It's just a few pages. But if I could put it in simple terms, it will curl your toenails, so to speak. It's a simple way of language of putting it. You must go there and read it, LindseyWilliams.net, and read what this retired attorney said. And you will know why Mr. Fromm told me over 4 years ago that this is not a health care bill. Well, after I heard this, and my elite friend had told me, I was too frightened to give it out. Now, Proof Negative, you have called me a number of times in the last few weeks and asked me to be on your show. And every time I very politely ask, will you please give me a few more weeks? I don't feel free to give this out yet. And you'll remember the number of, you've been very kind and very polite about it. And I do appreciate you understanding that at the time I was literally frightened to give this out. I was concerned for a number of reasons. First of all, I didn't want to tell you something that's not true. And secondly, I have a reputation that's been gained over 37 years, and I didn't want to tarnish it by saying something for the first time that was wrong. And I was very concerned because when Mr. Fromm was alive, I always trusted what he said. Any time he said something, I knew it was the truth. I didn't question it. I took it as fact. And never one time was he ever wrong or misled me. The elite friend that I have now, he's knowledgeable. But, you know, I'm learning to trust him over the time and what he says. And when he told me this, it was so startling because it didn't just relate to a financial collapse, but it related to the Affordable Health Care Bill and the financial collapse that will take place after it's fully implemented. The only thing I knew to do was to record it. And I did. I recorded an hour and 53 minutes of DVD in studio. I recorded something entitled Elite Emergency Data, and I said I am not going to do a single radio show on this until I can prove it's true. Now you'll see it. Elite Emergency Data. You'll find it on LindseyWilliams.net if you want to look at it while you're there reading the retired attorney's brief. And I recorded it, and I said the only people I'm going to trust with this for about the next 2 months or a month and a half are those who are on my email list. That's right. You can get that at LindseyWilliams.net. You can get on the email list if you wish. And I sent out an advertisement telling them it was available, and every time a radio talk show host called me, I didn't do a show. Why? I had to find out if what my friend was saying was true or not, but I had to record it before I did any shows, a long time before I did any shows, in order to prove to you that it was right. Otherwise, you'd say, oh, my gracious, this is just another guy out here talking. Now, I want to tell you how I proved my friend to be right. I hope you have those pencils handy because I want you to write this down. I had to wait before I did any radio shows, and the first proof that I had that he was right was on September the 18th. You remember it. Just think back now. The entire financial world, Wall Street and everybody in the financial world around the world was waiting, almost holding their breath, wondering if Mr. Bernanke was going to say we are going to begin tapering quantitative easing. You know, I mean, everybody, you could just sit there and wait for the news. And he was supposed to announce on September the 18th that everybody, especially Wall Street, expected him to say we're going to start tapering quantitative easing, but I knew he wasn't going to do it. And I said that to some close friends. I said, he's not going to do it. Oh, yes, he is. I mean, Wall Street, everybody was saying it. Financial newsletters were all saying, he's going to begin tapering quantitative easing. I said, no, he's not. And I knew it couldn't, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. And sure enough, he came out that afternoon about 1 or 2 o'clock, and he said, no tapering. I mean, the financial world could not believe what they were hearing. $85 billion per month of mortgage-backed securities and Treasury notes were being bought by the Federal Reserve, and he says, we're not going to stop any of that. We're going to keep it right on. And as soon as he said it, I said, my friend's right. There's not going to be a collapse yet. And if he had said we were going to taper, you realize, oh, I'll show you in a minute what would have happened. Now, there was a second thing that caused me to finally believe everything that my elite friend had said. We had some divine intervention. Now, please bear with me on this one.
Okay.
This is going to be unusual. You remember in my DVD series back at the beginning of 2012, I made a DVD series entitled 2012, The Beginning of the End, and in it I said that the elite actually have a committee that studies the Bible. Listen, these people realize that there is the divine out there. Whether they know him or not is another story. But I had said that the elite expected something in the way of divine intervention, and I recorded it 2 years ago. Well, it happened, September the 13th. Now, remember back what that was. Our president was sitting right there waiting to push the button and send the missiles into Damascus and just wipe Syria out and get rid of Assad once and forever. And he was so wanting to do this, you can't possibly imagine it. Do you have the slightest idea that if those buttons had been pushed and those missiles had gone into Damascus, Syria, do you realize that in the Scriptures, Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 could have had the beginning of fulfillment, and you would have been immediately in the tribulation period spoken of in the Scriptures, and also it could have fulfilled the book of Isaiah chapter 17 and Isaiah chapter 40 in the Bible?
Right, because now, it does mention Damascus in there.
Yes, and it's destruction. Now keep in mind, Damascus, Syria is the oldest existing capital city on the face of the earth today. No, and I said capital city. The oldest. No capital city in the world has ever existed as long as Damascus, and the Bible has not been fulfilled yet. But if our president had his way and that had happened, it could have fulfilled these Scriptures and thrown us into the midst of a time that nobody in the world wants to see. But now, I am not a communist. I do not follow the line of Mr. Putin, but I am so glad that there was divine intervention and somehow moved upon Mr. Putin to make a complete idiot out of our president, and he had to back down, back off, and all of a sudden you heard not one word anymore about Syria, even though they're still killing as many people as ever. But they're not saying a thing about it. I honestly believe, and many other minister friends of mine believe, that there was divine intervention that day, and God gave us a grace period before the collapse. And I realized... I was really
surprised on that myself because I thought for sure something would be happening then. But like you said, it just... it went away pretty quickly, and everybody, whether it was John McShane or John Kerry or Hillary or Obama himself, they were adamant that we need to start to go into Syria, and Barry even said we need to also hit Iran while we're at it. So that was a very telling sign, and I am just surprised, just like you are, that didn't happen.
Divine intervention. Now, if he had done that, then my friend would have been wrong. Okay, let me give you the next sign that I had. Now, keep in mind, I'm sitting here on all this information. I'm sitting here knowing exactly what's going to happen, and you're sitting out there and you don't know. And I am begging and pleading, but on the other hand, I am scared to death. And then I had to look a little further. October the 1st through the 15th was the most wonderful dog and pony show that I have ever seen in my life. Congressmen up there acting like complete idiots, acting like children playing out on a schoolyard whenever they get mad at each other and start a fight. And every bit of it was planned. And I was told it was planned. And I sat here, and all of my close friends who knew how to call me on the phone would say, oh, my goodness, I'm scared to death. What's going to happen when the country shuts down? I said, the country is not going to shut down. They're going to increase the debt limit. I said, don't get upset. Calm yourself down. I said, this is a dog and pony show. But I had to wait until it played itself out. And it did. And they did exactly what I was told they were going to do. There was not anything done. They just pushed the can down the road.
Yeah.
Now, there's another one. And all of you will recognize this because you look at the Internet from time to time. And before the month of October came around, it was everywhere on the Internet. Every talk show host that I know of was talking about it. October surprise. October surprise. Something drastic, something catastrophic is going to happen in October. I knew it wasn't going to. And I said it to some close friends. I said it back in my DVD that I had made the last of August, the 1st of September. So you can't say I didn't say it and that I didn't know it and that my elite friend told me about it because the DVD was put out back then. You just look and you'll see it for yourself. There has been no October surprise. And there's not going to be an October surprise. Why? The elite are not ready yet. Another thing that didn't happen. There'd been no riots in October. None. Not one, and not going to be any. Why? Do you know what the elite are doing to you? I hope that you realize this. I'm just going to kind of get off my subject for just a moment in explaining the collapse. Just long enough to talk about something that is dumbing you down. The average, everybody in America is literally being dumbed down by something called an electrical smart meter. Do you have the slightest idea what they put on your house within the past 2 years? It's called a smart meter. And it tells the power company how much electricity you're using in any given month. And that smart meter operates at a frequency of 905 megahertz. That is one of the most dangerous frequencies that the brain can possibly experience. And when the brain is literally engulfed with that smart meter, every night between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, you wake up. Come on, think about it. I know this. I've been told it was happening, but you think about it. Between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, if you have a smart reader on your house, you wake up every morning. Why? Because it begins to talk one smart meter to the other and sends its signals into the electric company, and it's doing it at 105 megahertz, and it is a microwave frequency, and it works on the krypton in the retina of your eye, which responds to the pineal gland in your brain and shuts off the melatonin, and the melatonin is what tells you to go to sleep at night. I hope to goodness, folks, that you will understand what is being done to you. The reason we aren't having riots, the reason the American people are not rising up in arms against the New World Order, one of the reasons, I say, not all the reasons, but one of the reasons that the American people are acting the way they are acting today is because of the smart meters that they have had. And by the way, the federal government, they gave billions of dollars to put these things on every house in America, and it was not just for the purpose of telling them how much electricity you're using in a month. It was for the purpose of getting you to the place that you will be so non-lackadaisical that you won't do anything about what the elite are doing with the New World Order. And I hope you'll investigate it to no end. And when you get through looking up what smart meters really are, you're going to be one of those by the thousands who are having them taken off of their house now. They're dumbing you down, and it's all a part of it. Well, are you ready to go back to the financial part? Because I hope I can help you tremendously as a result of the program tonight. How will the elite collapse the currency and close the banks? Now, you did hear my definition of what they call financial collapse. That's when the banks close and you lose the money that's in them. You are going to do it. It is going to happen. Anything that you have in the way of paper in the bank, you are going to lose it. You're not going to lose it right now. In fact, I'm going to stick my neck way out. Once I decided to tell what my elite friend told me, I realized that I was going to have to make some very drastic statements. That I couldn't just play radio guests any longer. But I was going to really have to tell it as it is. Here goes. You are not going to see a financial collapse between now and January the 1st. Prediction. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, I'll just quit. No, you don't. In fact, there are certain things that you positively must do before January the 1st. And as I continue with this, you're going to see why that after January the 1st, there are going to be a lot of things you can't do anymore. That's the day that the health care bill kicks in for the private individual, not for corporations, but for private individuals. Corporations don't kick in until a year later. And that's the date, basically, that my elite friend is talking about, that they have as a target date. The collapse will take place after the Affordable Health Care Bill is fully implemented. But January the 1st, there are many things that are going to begin to take place, that are going to drastically affect you. First of all, how will the elite collapse the currency of the world? On June the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st. You may have known what was going on in the financial world, and you may not. But if you'll remember back on the afternoon of the 19th of June of 2013, everybody heard Mr. Bernanke say, we might possibly begin some tapering on quantitative easing. That's all it took. And it set in motion the test that you were used as a guinea pig. And the next 48 hours, the elite was sitting back in their chairs watching to see what the financial world would do. And it reacted exactly like they wanted it to. Now, Bernanke had only hinted. They didn't have any intentions in tapering. None whatsoever. But he hinted to see what would happen. There's something called a 7-day repo rate, or you might know it as a benchmark rate for the funding between banks. On any given night, while you and I are sleeping, banks literally do billions and billions of dollars amongst each other. If a bank needs, a customer has a $1 billion loan they want to make the next day, the bank doesn't have that much, so they borrow it from another bank or a group of banks that does have it. And as long as anybody has known, they borrow it at approximately 3%. And they have to pay it back within 7 days. Well, as soon as Mr. Bernanke said that, those in the know in the financial world knew that if he began tapering, interest rates were going to go up. And if interest rates went up, it was going to affect the derivative market. And the interest rate derivatives, which over 50% of the bets in the derivative market are interest rates derivatives, and they knew what would happen if he said it was going to go up, and they were sitting ready to take immediate precautions if they could. But, of course, it happened. And that rate, that 7-day repo rate went up. By the next morning, it was 8.26% from the night before. And by the next morning, by Friday morning, it was up to 12.33%, and no bank could do business with another bank. For the past 48 hours, they had been shut down. If one bank needed money and the other one had it, they couldn't borrow it from each other. They couldn't afford 12.33%. The ICBC Bank in China became illiquid. They lost their liquidity. They couldn't borrow it from other banks. They needed money. They couldn't get it because the interest rate had gone so sky high. And at this point, the elite recognized that if they wanted to collapse all the currencies of the world at one time, all they had to do was let the Federal Reserve Chairman come out and say certain things, let the interest rates begin to rise drastically overnight. I had friends calling me. Oh, they were desperate. Some of them called and said, oh, Chaplain, what's going to happen? I'm in the financial world. The banks won't open up on Monday morning. Oh, please, what's going to take place? Well, I had talked with my elite friend on Friday morning, and he said, Chaplain, it's only a test. He said, just want to try and see what will happen if this takes place. And he said, everything will be perfectly fine by Monday morning. We'll have it all smoothed over. And he said, we're just testing to see what will happen. You were used as a guinea pig. Isn't this horrible? that the big bankers, the elite, would actually run a worldwide test to see how they could collapse every currency in the world at the same time. Well, they did, and that test was successful. And I told my few friends that knew how to get in touch with me, just sit back, relax, nothing's going to happen. I've already told you that everything will be perfectly all right by the next morning. And by Friday morning, sure enough, it was. But I want to tell you what happened. Now, you have pencil and paper handy. You look this up for yourself, and you'll find it on certain websites out there. It'll still be there for you. 7 days later, 1 week later, as a result of just those 3 days that the elite pulled that little stunt on June 19, 20, and 21, just to see what would happen, while they were playing with the currencies of the world to see how to collapse them, those 3 days of playing around of the elite, 1 week later, here are the results, staggering results. Listen, if you will. The global derivative market suffered a staggering $300 trillion in losses in 3 days' time.
Mm-hmm.
They figured it up a week later. Now, I didn't say billion. You heard me correctly. Oh, you say that the national debt's only $17 trillion. Listen, that's a drop in the bucket, folks.
Hey, Pastor, if I can interject, I remember reading an article on the Drudge Report yesterday that before Bernanke leaves, he's considering pumping out an extra $1 trillion of U.S. dollars out in the market before he retires.
Oh, he will. You know, the $17 trillion that America has as national debt, this is child's play compared to the derivative market, which is 1 quadrillion on any given day that the elite of the world are using as Las Vegas-style one-armed bandit gambling syndicate called the derivative market, that every bank in the world and every super wealthy person in the world plays that market every day. And just because of a 3-day test and interest rates rising so quickly and rapidly, and since 50% of the derivative market is interest rate derivatives, whereby they bet on what the interest rate is going to be the next day and what the 10-year notes rate will be on the next. Gambling bets by the super wealthy. The derivative market suffered a $300 trillion loss. You want to know how much it cost you as a taxpayer? Those 3 days that the elite played around with the currencies of the world? Yeah. The Federal Reserve lost $151 billion in bond values. Now, I hope you understand what bonds are. If you don't, go and do some searching for yourself, and you'll find out what it is. They're all out there. The Federal Reserve lost $151 billion of taxpayer money in 3 days' time while they played around with figuring out what they could do with the interest rates of the world. Well, at about this point, I realized that I had to do something. I could not sit here any longer and watch the world literally be taken by the elite when I knew what was going on. And my elite friend was communicating with me and telling me all the things that were happening. And here is one of the final things that made me decide to give you a call, proof negative, and say I'd be on your show tonight. You can look this one up for yourself. I'd like you to go and see what a Mexican billionaire said. His name is Hugo Salinas Price. He's a billionaire. Okay. And when I read his statement, I don't know him, but I read his statement. And when I read his statement, which I'm going to read to you in just a moment, I realized that he knows some of the identical same people that I have known, because he said everything that I've been told. Now, think on this as I read it. He said, quote, I think we're going to see a series of bankruptcies. Now, I want to stop there long enough to say you haven't seen anything yet. You're going to see some of the biggest corporations in America go bankrupt in the next year to a year and a half time. I'm talking about big corporations, the biggies. I want to keep reading. I think the rise in interest rates is the fatal sign which is going to ignite a derivative crisis. Folks, are you getting this? I'm quoting this billionaire who sits with these people and knows what's going on. He relates interest rates to derivatives, which is what my elite friend told me a year and a half ago. I'm going to keep going. This is going to bring down the derivative system. There are over $1 quadrillion of derivatives, and most of them are related to interest rates. People, you've got to understand this. This is so important to you. I'm going to read again. The spiking of interest rates in the United States may set it off. What is going to happen in the world is eventually we're going to come to a moment where there's going to be massive bankruptcies around the globe, which is at what is going to be left when the dust settles is nothing but gold. Did you catch that last sentence? Nothing but gold. I'll add to that silver. The only thing that's going to be left after this is if it's paper, it's over with. If it's paper, it's done for. The only thing that's going to be left, and this man knows what he's talking about. This is something that my elite friend had told me a long time ago, that this would happen. And then it happened, October the 19th. Oh, yeah. Today is only the, 22nd. This happened on the 19th. The 17th of October. Thursday, October the 17th, just a few days ago. And when I saw this, I knew that, I think I talked to you by that time, Proof, but I knew it was right. And here it is. Chase Bank, largest bank in America. Chase Bank came out and sent a letter to every business account that they have. One of my friends got one, and I'm going to tell you about it in just a moment. I had to prove it, and I went and saw it. I went to his office and asked him about it. And he had gotten it. Every business account with Chase Bank, every business account with Bank of America and Wells Fargo and the others are all going to get it also. They're going to follow suit with Chase, mark my word, in just the next few weeks. And Chase Bank said, we're going to limit cash withdrawals after November the 17th, and we will allow no international wire transfers. Now, to the average person, that wouldn't mean a thing. To me, it meant everything imaginable. So I went to a friend of mine who is the largest gold and silver dealer in the valley where I live. Big. I mean, they do millions of dollars worth of business with Chase Bank in their account every year. In fact, he told me how many millions. I'm not going to tell it over the air. And I went to this gold dealer, and I said, how is this going to affect think about your grocery store and your hardware store. Now, think about it. Cash withdrawals. Do you know that grocery store does a lot of business in cash? Yeah, just look at the cash register. Next time they open it, there's a lot of cash there. And if you do cash over $50,000 statement cycle, you're going to have to start paying for the money that you do business in. And, folks, this is drastic. That grocery store, that hardware store, whatever private business that is out there that has any cash to come in, if they do over $50,000, I think it's in so many weeks or a month like that. If they do over $50,000, they're going to pay $2 per thousand. If I remember correctly, that's what the letter said. They're going to have to pay to even use the cash at Chase Bank. Yeah, we're coming down to it. I mean, they are doing this to cover themselves. They know this is going to happen, and they're covering everything they can. Cash, okay, wire transfers. I asked this gold dealer, a friend of mine, I said, how will wire transfers affect you? You ready? Folks, this is going to affect you like you can't believe on your dinner table. Okay, here we go. He said, Chaplain, I buy gold from Switzerland. I buy it from South Africa. I buy it from Great Britain. He said, I buy gold from all over the world. If a customer comes in here and says that he wants $100,000 worth of gold and he wants a certain kind, whether it be Canada's maple leafs or whatever it may be, he said, I get it for them. He said, after November the 17th, I can't do that anymore. I said, why? He said, I can pick up the phone and call Great Britain to to my supplier over there and say I want $100,000 worth of this coin, and the person in Great Britain will say, send me a wire transfer with that money, and we'll immediately ship you the gold. He can't send that wire transfer after November the 17th. You know, folks, I've been begging you for years. What my elite friend told me a number of years ago, that their currency is gold and silver, and I've begged you to get every piece of it you can get. Do you realize that yesterday gold went up $20, gold went up another $30 today? It's going up and up and up because those who are in the know realize what's happening. China's buying it like wild. China bought more gold in the first 6 months of this year than all the rest of the world combined bought gold, and also producing their own, and they sell none because they want to back the yuan with gold so that it can be the reserve currency of the world. And you're right around the door, right around the corner from the American dollar not being the reserve currency of the world anymore. It's going to happen within the next few months' time. You mark my word. Chase Bank is getting ready. They know what's going to happen. Their people, the top people, are a part of this elite, and they know what's exactly going to happen.
Well, why are the other two major banks in the U.S., Citibank and Bank of America, not doing this yet, or are they about to?
Yeah, every business account will receive a letter from them in the next few weeks. They're going to follow suit with Chase. They just haven't sent it out yet. Chase was the first one to dare to do it. Then, this past week, somebody began to read the Dodd-Frank bill. Now, you won't have time to read it. You don't want to read it anyway because it's banker's jargon. But some attorneys read the Dodd-Frank bill, which was passed during the first administration of our president. And you know what they found out? They found out that in the Dodd-Frank bill, the moment you place any money in the bank, any money that you have in the bank at all, it doesn't belong to you anymore once you place it in the bank. It is not yours. It is legally, according to the Dodd-Frank bill, no longer your money. The bank, it belongs to them. It does not belong to you, according to the federal government Dodd-Frank bill. Now, what happens if that bank becomes insolvent or closes, which is going to happen, and I just gave you when it's going to happen a few moments ago, and you can depend on it and watch it, and please, I beg of you, go to lindseywilliams.net, Lindsey, Williams.net. I beg you to go there for the sake of your household and see what's written there about both the health care bill and also what this attorney says. What's going to happen when the banks close and you lose your money? First of all, when the banks close, the bank's debts are paid first before anybody gets anything. All the debts. And they got a bunch of them. Secondly, all the stockholders are paid. That's right. And you're not a stockholder of the bank. You're just a depositor. Then, if there's anything left, according to the Dodd-Frank bill, you'll get it. You won't be getting anything. It won't be there for you. FDIC or no FDIC, it's not going to be there. Now, all of these things are shaping up for the New World Order to do what they want to do. Now, I need to beg you, and if I've ever begged you, I need you to do it now. Before January the 1st of 2014, you must do certain things. You don't have any choice. If you're going to spare yourself heartache, if there's any possible way you can do it, there's certain things you've got to do. Now, I once again, please bear with me because this is so important. Remember, I made this DVD back at the beginning of last of August, 1st of September, Elite Emergency Data. Even my own people who are on my email list only got their first copies, I think, about 2 weeks ago. I beg of you to get it because there are two things in it that I do not have time to even talk about tonight that are going to happen before the financial collapse takes place. There are two things in the world that will affect your family more, if you can imagine this. There are two things that are going to affect your family more that will happen before the collapse takes place and will affect your family more than the collapse itself. Now you say, wait a minute, Chaplain, no way. He said, if those banks close and I lose everything that's in them, he said, then nothing could affect me any more than that. Oh, yes, there is. And you'll see two things. You'll see the pictures. You won't believe it unless you see it. I can't even tell you about it because you wouldn't believe it. But I was given it, and you've got to see it in my Elite Emergency Data new DVD. Now, if you don't want to go on the website, please jot down this phone number. You can call our operators, American operators, by the way. And the numbers are 888-799-6111. That's toll-free number during regular office hours. You won't get them tonight. But during regular office hours, please call 888-799-6111. Or if you want to go on the web, if you wish to, the website's free of charge. You can go there anytime you'd like to. Go to lindseywilliams.net. You'll also find it advertised there. You just click on it and you can get it if you wish. Now, these two other events are going to affect you drastically. I mentioned one just a moment ago, somewhat. Do you realize that if you're going to buy gold and silver, that you are going to have to do it before January the 1st, or your gold and silver dealer may not be able to get it for you? Now, why are they limiting this? I said a long time ago on Proof Negative Show that I had been told many years ago by my elite friend that their currency is gold and silver. And I said you need to get your hands on every penny of it that you possibly can. You realize there's still no regulations on gold and silver. You can go and buy it, you can sell it as you wish. Now, they aren't going to control it because that is their currency, and it's the only thing when the dust settles they'll still be out there that you can depend on that still has value. Before January 1, you need to talk with your gold and silver dealer and do something. I don't sell it. Proof Negative could probably tell you where to go, but the main thing is there are some things that you need to do. Why? Between now and the time of the collapse, and I'm begging you to consider this before January the 1st is going to happen, there is going to be, I didn't say before January the 1st. First of all, I don't think anything will happen between now and January the 1st. But after January the 1st, I think that you're going to see a confiscation and the nationalization of pension funds. Did you catch this? This first time I think I've come on your program and said that this is definitely positive. Now I want to show you how...
It's been rumored, but I think you're right on that. It's just a matter of time that they're going to take pension funds eventually.
Yeah, they're going to confiscate, but I want to show you how they're going to do it. This is so subtle. This is so subtle and through, you'll be amazing. You'll be amazed. Confiscation and nationalizing of the pension funds. This means the federal pension fund. This means state pension funds. This means your 401ks. This means your IRAs. This means every pension fund. I don't care what it is. They did it 3 weeks ago in Poland. And I want to tell you what happened. And there were no riots in the streets. There were no protests. I want to show you how they're going to do it. And you are going to be utterly amazed as you watch it happen and unfold right in front of you. In Poland, on one morning, the banks opened, and the government announced all private pension funds in the country of Poland that the country was in such horrible condition financially that they were going to take out of that pension fund 50% of everything that was there. No, we'll take the whole thing. Now, they did this for Social Security years ago. Do you remember that the Social Security fund was built up into billions and billions of dollars, and the Congress of the United States of America went in there and took it and spent it on the national debt? Do you know that? Yeah, all of you that's on Social Security, there's no money there except what comes in every month because the Congress stole it over a period of years. Well, they're going to do this with pension funds overnight. They'll come in and say, we're going to take 50% out of your pension fund. Well, you say, so what? I'll still get my check next month. Yeah, you will. I mean, folks, this is so subtle, it's almost unbelievable. Do you realize when they steal 50% of that pension fund, there's only a matter of time until that pension fund has nothing in it because it cannot get that 50% back, and maybe a year to a year and a half from now, the pension fund will have to announce to you that you aren't getting your check. But right now, nobody's going to protest. Nobody's going to riot in the streets. Why? Oh, well, I'll get my check next month. Why should I worry about it? You watch this. And they're going to do it with the federal pension funds, with every one of the, they could do it with all of them. Again, you are going to see before the collapse, you're going to see a currency devaluation. I don't know how much it'll be. It's going to happen. And what will happen recently happened in Cyprus and Iceland and Argentina and Venezuela. They just closed up the banks for a few days and said, now, anything you've got between the mattress, bring it in, and we'll be glad to give you another currency for it, but you'll only have so many dollars compared to the number of dollars you have right now. And you'll have to prove where you got that money between the mattress, because if you don't, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. That's right. And they've done it in other countries already. I just named them for you. They're going to do it in the United States of America. We will have a country.
Cyprus do that about a year and a half ago also?
Yes. Cyprus, Iceland, Argentina, Venezuela. Mm-hmm. And they're going to do it here. It'll be devalued. It did in Mexico a number of years ago. Devaluation of the currency. So you better spend that paper. Whatever you're going to use it for, I would suggest that you go do it, because that paper is not going to be worth very much once they devalue it. You definitely need to consider what you can do between now and January the 1st before things begin to happen. And after January the 1st, they're going to pop very rapidly, looking forward to the full implementation of the health care bill, which is going to put you under such total control that by a year later, people will be begging for a new currency, will be begging for the New World Order, and they'll have no problem whatsoever. Now, I need to help you understand. I know you've heard a lot lately about riots, and they may get them, but it's not what they want. I've said this over and over, even though some of my talk show host friends have kind of taken me to task on it. They've said, oh, yeah, we're going to have riots. Well, we may have them, but that's not what the elite want. The elite want to bring in that New World Order their way, somewhat peacefully, but get Americans to the place that they will beg. Now, here's the next thing that's going to happen, and you'll see it happen. Now, Ron Paul said this past week. I'm just not the only one saying this. Ron Paul said this past week. He said the American dollar will lose its status as the world's premier reserve. He said it in a speech he made this past week. I think he's right. We are very much online for that. It happened this morning. That's right. This morning, yeah, the 22nd, today, it happened, Tuesday. Maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't. I did, because I watch for these things. It's my business to know. The American dollar, as long as anybody can remember, has been above 80. Now, what they do is they take about a dozen currencies in the world, and they average them on any given day, and they compare the currencies, and then they rate the currency compared to the other currency, and the American dollar stands up to approximately 80 compared to all the other currencies in the world, 80, 82, 85, 87. This morning, the American dollar went down to 79.2. Now, 80 is a drastic point. Anytime the dollar goes below 80, watch out. Now, why did this happen? China's not buying our Federal Reserve issues anymore. Japan is not buying any more of our Federal Reserve notes, which pays off the interest on the national debt. The world has said, we don't need the American dollar anymore. We have the Chinese currency. We have our own currency, BRICS said, and they said, we don't need the dollar anymore. Every day there are more and more dollars floating around out there that nobody wants them. And when nobody wants them, their value drops. And their value dropped this morning to 79.2. It's barely holding on to 79. And when it goes down to 78, this is utter drastic. And you need to watch for it. You'll hear it on a few reports that are given out there every day. People, the world, doesn't want the dollar any longer. It is ceasing to be the reserve currency of the world, the premier reserve. And it was said this past week by Ron Paul, he said America is losing its dollar reserve, world premier reserve. And I agree with him totally. It's going to drastically affect you. Why? You realize that the dollar dropped down to 79.2, that every product that Walmart buys from China or Japan or some other country, now the dollar won't buy as much because it's not 80 anymore. It's 79.2, and it drops to 78, and it drops to 77, and finally the prices start going up at Walmart and Target and the hardware store and the grocery store, all because of what has happened to the reserve currency. Now, folks, there's something you can do about it. You can, between now and January the 1st, protect your family. I post every time I get something from my elite friends I feel is drastic. I will post it on LindseyWilliams.net. I don't post something every day. Maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, maybe every day. But I will post something whenever I feel that it's drastic. You need to know it. I'd advise you to go to LindseyWilliams.net periodically and just take a look around. Please read the brief by the retired attorney. And I beg of you, get the new DVD, Elite Emergency Data. It is not copywritten. I beg of you to copy it and give it to every friend you've got and help us get the message out. I have tried my best to tell you just what is happening, and I hope that it will help to be a great comfort to you. And proof, it is a privilege to have been on your show tonight.
Well, I'm still in shock over what you just said over the last few minutes. I've been trying to get people to listen and to understand here, and so let me ask you this: at what point do people start seeing the prices start rising? Not exactly Zimbabwe style, but rising pretty quickly. At what number does the U.S. have to be? Today we're at 79.2, so. At 78, do prices start jumping to 77, 75, or what number?
Gold prices went up $20 yesterday. Again, this morning they went up $30. You're going to see the same thing happen at the hardware store, the new TV that you might want to buy at Christmas. Anything that you're going to do, you better do it. In fact, I placed an order today with a company just merely because I see this happening, and I know a month or two from now their prices are going to be up. And even though they may not deliver for 2 or 3 weeks, I went ahead and placed an order. You need to get rid of your paper and get into tangibles as quick as you possibly can.
Well, one of my questions that I've had, and I think I might have asked you before and you've answered, but we do have new audience. So if every country in the world has a debt and everyone has to pay somebody, who do they pay?
Well, the thing is that America, as well as all of these other countries, are going to default. That means default means they never pay it. There is no way that the American debt can be paid. The $17 trillion, we couldn't take all the gross domestic product that we have coming in next year and even pay a fraction of it. And that's the reason that you saw such a dog and pony show in Washington October the 1st through the 15th, is because they knew it couldn't be paid. They knew that there was nothing they can do about it. They know now there's nothing they can do about it. And rather than admit that they can't cut the budget, they can't cut back on the debt, that they can't pay the debt, instead they get up there and put on this glorious show and make you think that they're going to do something about it. And they know all the time that we're going to have to default on the national debt at some point, along with all the other nations of the world. And that's when the New World Order can step in and say, we have a new currency. And we'll be more than happy to back it by gold and silver and guarantee you this won't happen again. And we'll give it to you, and you'll say, oh, please, 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 anything, just so that my family doesn't go hungry.
Okay, and let me ask you this, and I guess we're just speculating here, but when the New World Order currency finally comes in, is this when we start to see the face of whoever the Antichrist is going to be, or are we still a ways off on that?
It is my belief that that is the time, and I believe the scriptures are being fulfilled right before our eyes. Those who have studied the book of Revelation have read the last chapter, and you know what the outcome is going to be. And I believe that we are seeing that right now begin in its infancy, and I don't think it's going to be too long off before we see it. I'm not a young man, but I think I'm going to see it in my lifetime and witness all of this. And to me, it's one of the most exciting times that has ever been on the face of this earth. I don't have any worry over it. But I need to give you one other word of encouragement, too, that I'm seeing something here. You know, all the rest of the world, there is no possibility that in any manner whatsoever they can spare themselves. There's one nation left on the face of the earth that there is a possibility of us coming out not as hurt as the rest of the world, and that's the United States of America. And it's because of the Constitution we have, and we cannot let them change it. We cannot let them alter it. We cannot in any manner. We've got to hold the nose of the politicians to the Constitution. And when all is said and done and it comes down to it, I think there's a possibility that America may suffer much less than other nations merely because of the fact that we have a background in a Constitution that no other nation on the face of the earth has.
Right, and until our Congress, which somehow they voted to give themselves less power in that whole political theater last week, I just found that odd that they would vote to give themselves less power when it comes to deciding debt ceiling issues.
Well, they're giving the power to a dictator. Yeah, they're giving the power to a dictator, and that's yet to be seen what's going to happen.
So I have a question from the chat room here. Davis5454 asks, with a one-world government and a one-world currency, will there be one world leader introduced with this currency?
Positively. Read the book of Revelation, the last book in the Bible, and you will find the scriptures talk about him. It was prophesied over 2,000 years ago, and we're beginning to see it take place right in front of our eyes. There will be a one-world dictator, and the Bible calls him the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm. And so what I've said on the show here is that when they finally switch to this one-world currency, the first few years are not going to be the death and destruction. They have to bring it in softly, so people are going to get excited. It might even be to the point, in my personal opinion, for the first year or two, people are going to say, wow, this is awesome. I wish we could have done this sooner. And then the screws start getting put in place. And that's when... Go ahead.
No, everything you have just said, Proof Negative, is right. That is exactly... You put it miraculously. Just what you said just then is put so well. That's what's going to happen.
Well, if they just flat out brought it in hard, then all the naysayers that might actually have listened to us would laugh instead because, oh, you're afraid of this New World Order. There's nothing to be afraid of. I have more money now than I did 10 years ago, not realizing the rug's gonna come crashing down.
That's the reason the collapse is not going to take place between now and January the 1st or any time shortly after January the 1st. And that's the reason that they're going to wait until they have full implementation of the Affordable Health Care Bill, which has nothing to do with health care whatsoever. Every bit of this is being done exactly as you have said, one little piecemeal at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Pastor, let me ask you, how can people get a hold of these videos and discuss with somebody about any questions they might have?
If you'd like to make a phone call, toll-free, during regular office hours during the daytime, please call the following number, 888-799-6111. Again, toll-free, 1-888-799-6111 if you wish to use the telephone, or if you wish to go to the Internet, you will find a place on LindseyWilliams.net where you can make arrangements for Elite Emergency Data, or you can go to where people have gone in the past, prophecyclub.com. You'll also find it there. So you have a number of places you can go. Prophecy, Prophecy, CLUB.com, or another website, LindseyWilliams.net, where you can see my personal briefs that I give as the Elite Give Me Things. You'll find it on LindseyWilliams.net. So go there for the very latest of what I put up there from time to time, or toll-free 888-799-6111. My latest just came out a matter of days ago, Elite Emergency Data, and a lot of material I have not covered here tonight for lack of time.
Well, one last question here before we let you go. I want to ask personally, is war still on the table in Syria/Iran?
No. The elite have a certain amount of power. They think they're God, but they aren't. And they experienced something on September the 13th that they didn't expect. They had wanted to get rid of Assad in Syria for a long time. In fact, they're running about 9 to 12 months behind in what they want to do in the Middle East. You remember about 2 years ago, I produced a DVD series entitled The Middle East, The Rest of the Story, and I told everything they were going to do as my elite friend had told me about it. And Syria was supposed to have already been taken over a long time ago by the Muslim Brotherhood. They were supposed to have already been in Iran by now. But they're running behind because of Assad. But there was something that stopped them on September the 13th. And I think it's terrible to think this way. But you remember, God used Nebuchadnezzar to judge Israel years ago in the Old Testament for their wrongdoings. And I think Mr. Putin, even though he's communist, I think he was used to stop our president because it wasn't quite time yet for the fulfillment of those scriptures in Ezekiel 38 and 39 and Isaiah 17 and Isaiah 40.
It's just surprising to me, Pastor, about how we were so pro-gung-ho with war, and then 2 weeks later, nobody's talking a thing about it.
Not a peep, not a word. You see, they can't overcome God. They can overcome man, and they can overcome governments, but they can't control God. They'd love to find him and do it if they could, but they can't.
Well, I'm very surprised, though, and hey, I'm glad to have not seen World War III start happening, but a lot of what you said, I'm right in line with basically everything you've said tonight, possibly up to 100%. And did you go on any other shows today? I'm just curious because I didn't know if there was some questions I may have missed.
Yes, I was on the End Time Talk Radio about 2 hours ago, and let's see, I was on Pastor Butch Paul's show on Monday night. That was the first, so you're one of the first ones, your audience one of the first ones to ever get this.
Okay, and any other shows the rest of the week that somebody might hear you on?
Yes, in fact, I will be on the Mills Crenshaw show out of Salt Lake City on Thursday from 2 until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Mills Crenshaw is he is syndicated all over the nation, right. And he's also on the Internet, and I'll be there on Thursday. And then, of course, next week I will be booking shows, but for right now they can listen to Mills Crenshaw if they'd like. Some of you know Mills. He is a masterful talk show host, and you'll dearly love what he has to say.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to plug other appearances, and I didn't know if you'd be going on Alex Jones or George Norrie or anything big anytime soon as well.
I did have a call the other day from one of those shows. I'll not say which one. And They said, we definitely want you on in a few weeks. And so, yeah, I will be on one of those in the next few weeks' time. They've already called and talked with me.
All right. Well, we appreciate being one of the first ones to have you here with a lot of this breaking news. And as time comes up, you always know you have my phone number. If you need some airtime, just give me a day's notice, and you got it.
Proof, I appreciate you so much. Everyone out there in your listening audience, they should listen to you every single day. Don't you miss a program. You're going to be getting things that Proof Negative is going to give you that you won't get anyplace else, not even on some of these famous shows out here. So I beg you, listen to Freedomizer Radio every day and what Proof Negative is giving you. And Proof, I will give you a call if some more information comes through. It seems things are happening so fast now. And again, I want to thank you for the privilege of allowing me to be with your audience and with you tonight.
All right. Well, thank you. Until we meet again here, Pastor, it's been a pleasure and an honor, and stay safe.
Lord bless. Everybody set that spiritual house in order. It's the most important thing out there. And thank you, and good night.